and today we're going to be talking about my project, Reimagining Physics Courses. So let's get started. Just to provide some context and background, I want to start us off with the motivation as to why we want to reimagine the conceptual learning in physics. Well, first of all, students view physics as simply as abstract and disconnected from real world experiences, which is very ironic given that physics explains the physical things that happen to us in everyday experiences. And this disconnection is from this is not great to the subject because it leads to low engagement and really limited retention of core physics concepts. Another motivation is that traditional physics courses prioritize procedural problem solving over conceptual understanding. Most of the time, students resort to memorization or really just trying to get through the class without developing intuition about physical laws. And third, students continue to hold these persistent misconceptions that are really not corrected. So basically, there's no iterative or inquiry driven instruction that fixes this misconception. Therefore, they remain stuck and unchallenged. In the last few years, in all of academia, pedagogy has changed with technology, and because of the pandemic, we've all been forced to have some sort of synchronous, asynchronous online experience. And this has really affected the physics courses and physics pedagogy. However, the way that they still do assessments are far from how they actually implement them. Currently, there's lots of physics courses that are asynchronous or blended and a mixture of various kinds of instruction. However, their assessment styles have largely remained the same, which are these typical mathematical assessments that are timed and graded. So, this project is really meant to reimagine that and how different types of assessments can help students gain a conceptual understanding of physics. So, some prior work in this is really I targeted these three main points, which are the blended learning approaches, inquiry, and iterative learning, as well as self regulated learning. Essentially, students who are in blended learning environments show a much stronger engagement and motivation, and those engagement and motivation have helped them lead to becoming even more successful in the classroom. Um, it also highlights that the value of iteration and lab based learning reinforces the deep learning that's needed for physics. And of course, that the self regulation that is preceded by the students are key to their academic success, and they need to be active participants in the learning process. And so, with this foundational models and pedagogical evidence through research that we've done in this class, I have created a project around it that reimagines how the physics courses could look like. But first, let's talk about why self regulated learning is important. Oftentimes in physics, it's stuck in this performance phase, what we all know strategies, time management, even help seeking. All of it is stuck in this performancing where you take the test, you study, and then you go for it, right? There is no other steps taken after that. What's really important when it comes to self-regulated learning is that we go from performance phase, then to the self-reflection phase, and then to the forethought phase. So in self-reflection, we need to be able to self-judge and then also think about the future, set goals, strategically plan, and this basically creates a self-motivation loop. This is a 3-step regulation learning phase that we want to establish for physics, not just being stuck in performance. So, how did my project come about? So my project basically wanted to break it down into 4 weeks of modules. And in every week, there's going to be a lesson plan, different things like that, and videos, etc. So we can take a look at week 3 as our demo and follow that. So here in my drive, I have week 3. We can open the week 3 lesson plan first. So here it's divided by days in the week. So in the first day, it's going to be an introduction to Newton's third law. And basically going to have this modality is going to be asynchronous. This is before the class starts, so students get already a sneak peek and good understanding. So here we have the slides. We have the slides for each of the lessons, for this case, week 3. And then I also have a video for it. So here's a sneak peek of this video.
Welcome to our Newton's third law pre-work video lesson. Today we're going to be in forces cause
And
pairs.
etc. It goes through that. Going back here, we then have textbook reading, then math practices, as well as this goal setting prompt. What everyday interaction do you want to analyze when Newton's third law by Friday? Giving this type of reflection or goal setting is going to be key in order to keep students engaged. Then in day 2, it's going to be synchronous in class, and on this, they are going to actually take a quiz. So here is a force concept quiz that's really meant to target misconception. So let's just kind of go through here. So yes, and then let's say no, then let's say yes, here, both, etc. And then you submit it, and then you can view your score. And here it actually gives you feedback. So here we got it correct and there's the feedback. But then here we have that, oh, we chose B. And look at that. That is a common misconception. Why? And the feedback's right there. And so this is really gauging the type of concepts that they should be able to understand and why those misconceptions happen. So as we continue, we have group problem sets as well. It's important for students to work through problems together. This way they're able to see what they know and also be able to notice what they don't know from other students. So those are some activities. And then we also have an understanding check-in and writing prompt. So instead of just focusing on mathematical problems, it's important to think about them conceptually, such as this: how does Newton's third law explain why a rocket launches? Often we're only asking about the math, but why? What is the concept here? And giving them only 10 minutes to answer this helps to see whether or not they actually have a good understanding or if it's very shallow. Then we have the day 3 where they can actually play with some simulations here. And so for week 3, we're supposed to put the different types with the instructions right here, and then you're able to see, play around with it, and there's going to be a simulation, a lab, and there you're able to check it out and answer the questions, etc. Then on day 4, we have case studies right here, where the case studies, again, more group work, more real life examples and working through the math, as well as these reflection questions. Then finally, we're going to get to the assessment where we have our quiz. So as you can tell, some of these questions are conceptual, but we also have quantitative. It's still physics and they still need to be able to do the math and show the math. But once you get to the end, part of the assessment's not just that quiz, it's also this self-reflection journal and behavioral analytics, as well as optional challenges. As you can see, this is just week 3, but all of week 1, 2, 3, and 4 follow the same cadence. And then here we have the analytics dashboard as well, that was generated by ChatGPT, and it's a way for us to take a deeper look as to what other parts of assessment is going to be important and how are their behavioral analytics connected to that assessment. And some future works that I would like to do is create a pilot iteration of this so that I could actually run this test and be able to see how much more students gain a conceptual understanding. With that behavioral analytics I just showed, I hope to use those analytics to then figure out how to refine the course design. As you could tell, the last slide was generated by ChatGPT, so find a way to make this integration a lot more scalable and possible. And just expand this to other topics within physics, electromagnetism, modern physics with quantum mechanics, etc. And then finally, faculty and student training, continuing to develop the training modules for instructors and onboarding materials for students. And that's my project. I hope that this inspired you to kind of reimagine how physics courses could be in the future, and hopefully types of my project could be implemented in the classroom at real time. Thank you.